Hello beautiful people. Today we're going to be building another DIY skate spot. Super hyped. We're actually on the 163 bridge. This is a very notorious skate spot here in San Diego. There's been many lives of skate parks basically here. They tear them out, skaters come, they build it again. So in this video, we're going to be kind of getting this spot going in a way. We're going to be building a ledge slash spine slash very unique obstacle that Tyler sort of drew up, and yeah, super excited. I have a bunch of supplies behind my house from previous DIY projects, so we're going to be recycling some previously used forms and things of that nature. And it's really hot out here, so got the sun hat on today. Also got this ridiculous outfit on because I just don't like to get my nice clothes dirty with concrete. So that was the first tip, is wear some trashy clothes so you don't have to worry about your gear getting messed up. With that said, let's dive into how to build a DIY skate spot slash get a DIY skate park going.
The first thing we're going to do is lay out all of our cinder blocks in a formation that makes a ledge. Cinder blocks cost around $1 at your local hardware store, so if you can find any to reuse, that's a great way to save some money. Now that we know where the cinder blocks will line up, it's time to add our adhesive to lock everything together. In order to do that, we're going to be using liquid nails. Using a caulking gun, we add liquid nails to every side of the cinder block. Now it's just about lining all the blocks up and adding some pressure on top of them to make sure that they lock into place. This is the easiest way to build a ledge without having many tools. I'm using a putty tool to smooth out all the liquid nails in between the seams to avoid the adhesive creating any edges, but you can use pretty much anything for this step, including cardboard.
So basically we got the basic cinder block ledge going with the liquid nails, all the formation. Now we're going to add cinder blocks on the left and the right side of it so that you can pop over, sort of use it like a spine type of thing. So got these forms from a previous build, but too short. You can see the cinder block sticking out. So we need to make something a little bit longer so we can land inside of it like that long.
Using the scrap wood I brought from our previous DIY skate spots, I make a few measurements to know where I need to cut the wood to make a nice form for each side of our bank. Instead of making more measurements for other sides of the bank, I can simply trace the first piece onto my scrap wood and then cut out the second side of the bank. Now adding both bank forms, it looks good. The next thing that we need to do is make a marker on the ground as to where the bank will start. That way we can make a few cuts into the original concrete. I'm going to be using my Dremel saw with a diamond blade. This is a nice quick way to chip out the original ground so that our concrete bonds into the floor nice and smooth.
All right, so we have the ledge all prepped up, all the liquid nails are on there. We got our forms cut out. As you can see, there's gonna be transition or banks on both sides. Now, basically from here, we're gonna chip out some of the ground so that it sticks a little more. And what that is just taking my diamond blade and the saw right here and just chiseling out a couple marks in this ground so that it really sticks to it. And then from there, all of our prep work is pretty much done. It'll be time to mix concrete and make this thing super fun. Whenever you're cutting up concrete or, you know, mixing concrete or getting these kind of particles in your lungs, you want to avoid getting them into your lungs. So I always wear a mask when cutting up the concrete or mixing concrete. I try to. Sometimes I forget, but ideally you always want to wear a mask when you're doing this kind of work.
Now we're going to dry pack all of our cinder blocks before adding the banks. This process is fairly easy and helps secure the ledge so that it won't fall over in the future. Essentially, we're going to be adding concrete into the cylinders and then adding in water, mixing inside of the cinder block. Using a tarp, we started mixing concrete. This is the fastest, easiest, and cheapest way to mix concrete when you have multiple people. Now, since we prepped everything pretty good, It's just a matter of filling the space between our forms with concrete and smoothing everything out. We dumped about 3 bags into the bank. Using a shovel, I start to get all the concrete into place. Before hitting the bank with the trowel, I'm using a 2x4 to skim the concrete up and down. Now using my magnesium float, I start to smooth out all the concrete and get all the water to the surface to make a nice buttery looking texture. Whenever troweling on a bank or something similar to this, I try to go side to side as I'm going up or down instead of pulling the concrete into place. It's more about aggravating it into place. Using my trowel, I can smooth out the top of our dry pack cinder blocks, adding water when needed to smooth everything out so that we can add angle iron on later. Now that the bank surface is nice and ready, I'm going to hit it with a finishing pull trowel to get that real smooth finish.
All right, so we got this one bank side on here. Tyler and some of the guys just went to go grab more concrete because we didn't have enough. We dry packed and then we used all this side. It's actually quite a lot of concrete. We did mix in some cement tall, which is a really easy way to get that nice top finish. We'll probably do one more coat maybe over this. I left a little bit of room on the top, so we didn't take the transition all the way to the edge. Point being is we do want to set some angle iron on top of there, so we don't want to get it all the way up there. But yeah, super excited. We got this one side done. It's looking pretty good. I hit it with that finishing trowel. It is really sunny and hot out today. That kind of works against you when you're doing these type of things because the concrete starts to cure so fast. So one way to slow it down, it's not ideal, but you pour some water on there just to slow the process. So I have been pouring water on it as I'm troweling it. Yeah, now we're gonna hit the other side, the other bank. Tyler and Javi, some of the friends, they just went to go pick up some more tools and water. So now we're gonna let this side cure. Next step is to get the other bank going, and then we put the angle iron on there, and then it's skate time, baby.
We can be up down in time. How long do you think it'll take us to finish this?
So yeah, just showed up next day. First impression, one side of the bank is completely ruined. Someone just destroyed it and they took all the angle iron and there's a mess. Like they just threw the forms everywhere onto the bridge. I don't know where the angle iron is. Maybe I could find it and try to put it on there. But yeah, I can tell this isn't the city. This isn't like someone official. Whoever writes this tag, KDP, is that to you? You suck. Yesterday, basically, I was finishing up one of the banks, one of the sides of the banks, and a park ranger showed up. Very unfortunate, but he told us we have to stop what we were doing, so we kind of had to call it. I actually didn't stop. I kept working. Javi kept working. We just let Tyler talk to him because I figured it's better than like bargating him and like trying to come over and like solve all the problems. All right, we're like, let's just let one person talk to him. maybe they can figure it out. And they did. So park ranger gave us 1 hour to clean everything up and get out of there because we weren't going to haul all the concrete off. It just wasn't possible in our current situation. So luckily park ranger was pretty cool. They let us finish, and we did finish. It was kind of a lot of time constraint, so very fastly put the angle iron on there. It was less than ideal. So I came back this morning actually to come fix the angle iron. I'm going to put some Cementol final coat right on the top to butter everything up. But unfortunately, I will not be doing that because I just got here and it's completely destroyed. At least one side of the bank's destroyed. The angle iron's gone. I'm looking for it right now. It's missing. They took the angle iron and put it somewhere else. They threw our forms all over the bridge. They just really destroyed it. And clearly it's either a really angry citizen or a skateboarder that happened to know, because we did post it on Insta story that we're building here. So maybe someone that's resentful destroyed it. And that does suck. When you're building DIY spots, you invest your money and your time. And when somebody comes and destroys it for their satisfaction, it is a bummer. It's very discouraging. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what to do now, basically. Do I put the cement on there? Do I move on? So we've let a few weeks go by since someone destroyed this side of the skate spot. And the point of that was just to kind of wait it out and see if they would actually destroy everything, because the state troopers or the highway patrol, whoever they were that came and shut us down, basically said, hey, you have an hour to go. They also told us that they're going to be demoing the spot 3 days later. And like I said, it's been a few weeks. So, you know, that's just doing their job. But us as skateboarders and spot builders, we're back. Brought some angle iron today, some Quikrete, and some Cementol so that we can fix up this side of the bank and get this spot to a much more skatable place so that we can enjoy it. And since it's been here for a few weeks, I'm feeling confident that it will stay. Hopefully nobody comes and destroys it. So let's get to unpacking all the concrete, our angle iron, get to mixing, and let's install this skate spot.
The first thing we're going to do today is add liquid nails to the angle iron and add it onto the ledge. That way it can have time to dry while we work on the bank. You want to add liquid nails not only to the angle iron, but onto the cinder blocks, or if it's in your case, a ledge. Essentially, both surfaces need to have liquid nails on them. Lastly, adding some weight onto the angle iron so that the adhesive dries to a nice good position is a solid idea.
So now that we're at this point in the stage, it's really just a waiting game. Normally we do a Hail Mary and we just leave the spot, hope that it stuck. But since we've already gone through this process and realized that people want to destroy this skate spot, we're gonna wait it out. And one thing that's kind of like a security system that we did is added a top layer of Cementol over all the Quikrete. And the reason it's sort of a security system is because it dries and cures so fast. So if someone's walking by and they see that it's more cured, they're gonna be less inclined to mess it up versus like nice, fresh, wet concrete. So now we're just gonna wait it out, wait for it to cure, wait for that angle iron to really set on top of the ledge. Then we're gonna cut it and get to a skate session.
Now we need to cut the rebar to size. Because I didn't want to create any more tension with loud noises, I'm using the hacksaw to slowly take off the end piece. Lastly, I'm going to be using some JB weld that I had to fill in the knots in the cinder blocks that would potentially stop you from grinding.
So by now, you probably understand
the title of this video and why I wouldn't want to ever build a skate spot again. Honestly, that's not exactly how I feel right now. I'm not just giving up. However, I am putting a pause on it. I'm not going to be building any spots for probably a month or so. And it's not entirely because of this situation or this outcome. I've had every DIY spot that I've built in the last 2 years be destroyed completely. So that's a lot of money that I've had sort of like just vanish essentially. So what I try to do is take all the money I make from YouTube and build skate spots. So one of the other reasons that I'm gonna put a little bit of a pause onto building skate spots is because I am moving soon. So one of the big goals that I want to do when I move is start to work on my own backyard sort of DIY spot. And that was originally why I started this channel. Actually, I was debating whether I go wood or concrete. And basically, long story short, we're having to move from our first home that we bought that I originally was going to be building some skate stuff at for family reasons that I'm not going to get into in this video. But because we are moving, we did get a new place that has some yard, some space for building DIY. So I'm excited. I think that'll be the next one that I do build. So it won't be on a property that is contaminated. So with all that said, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've learned from this experience that I will definitely be applying to the next public DIY skate spot renegade builds. Now, of course, I can sit here and speculate on what happened yesterday, but I will tell you this concrete was super hard. We waited it out. It was raining when we left, and it was like, there's no way anybody's going to come destroy it. Like, you could stomp on it and it wasn't getting messed up, and it was raining, but somehow we left. Within maybe 20 minutes, Tyler, my friend, came back and he saw that it was destroyed. So either someone was spying on us, or someone saw something on Instagram, or maybe even the park ranger came back and destroyed it. But in my opinion, I don't know. I think that would probably actually be like a liability on him. You probably wouldn't want to do that because that could risk his job being jeopardized. And whoever did destroy the spot took the angle iron, which is really expensive. That's what makes me think it's someone that either knows what they're doing or could be a skater, but they definitely have a truck or a means of transportation to get that angle iron somewhere. So it wasn't someone that's just like lurking around in this area that might be upset that we're trying to kind of clean up the zone. So yeah, I can sit here and speculate all day long, but instead of doing that, I'll talk about 3 different things. And there's a lot of things that I learned throughout this project, but one is that we should have segmented this entire build. And what I mean by that is we should have just came and put the cinder blocks down, left it, came back, did the angle iron the next day, came back, skated it just like that, and then added the transition versus trying to do it all in one day and just trying to really do this whole project in one slump. That is one thing that I definitely learned that I'll be applying to future projects is how do I make it bite-sized increments? And the reason that I would do that is because we would learn pretty quickly that this is like a tranquilized spot, if you will. Like this environment has a virus in a way, like you can't build stuff here. And we would find that out before investing all the money that we did and the time that we did into building this obstacle. So yeah, segmenting it out, just doing like one little partial build, seeing how, the environment reacts to it, see people take it down. That's something that I will definitely be applying to future builds, is just figuring out how to slowly build it up versus trying to do it all at once, because now we're out of $100 and we don't even have a skate spot. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that I definitely learned throughout this process and this build. And you learn things with every DIY skate spot you build. Of course, like I'm very demotivated and like I feel sort of, trampled on, if you will, throughout this whole process. It's been weeks trying to get this thing going and we just haven't been able to do it. That's also something I learned is like knowing when to hold them, knowing when to fold them essentially. Is at this point, we're definitely not going to move forward anymore with anything here, even though it is almost skatable. I was like pushing it off. You probably still skate this somehow one way or another, but I'm just like so jaded that I don't want to do it. So yeah, let's get into the second learning from all this madness that I've been going through. The other lesson that I learned with building this spot or trying to build this spot is reading the room, reading the area, and doing a better job of acknowledging what's going on. So when we first built this, we did get kicked out. We did get the park ranger to coming over here and telling us basically we can't do this. But we gave it some time. Over the course of 3 weeks, it was sitting here just like this, how it is now. And we figured, you know what? Nobody's messed with it for weeks. Let's just go finish it and then we can move on. So this is what happens when you try to like keep pushing forward when you know there's something bad, like I was saying earlier, like a virus at this spot. So
that's a lesson learned. We should have just realized, even though it's still here for weeks, that whoever did do it most likely was gonna do it again, and here we are. So that was a lesson learned. If someone's messing with your spot within the first like build or the first intent that you're trying to do, or even just skating in that area, then yeah, leave it. That's the problem, is like you can skate here for hours and nobody would bother you. But as soon as you build something and leave for some reason or another, it gets messed up. So that was a learning lesson. Anytime in the future, if somebody messes with the build after the first initial build, then I'll just know that it's time to move on. The last lesson that I have from building this DIY skate spot, there's so many, honestly, there's so many lessons I learned from trying to build this spot up. But I think the final one goes against what I originally, or not originally, but what I sort of had built up in my head from previous builds, is to just build it, leave it, and do a Hail Mary and hope that people just don't mess with it. Now I kind of think, you know, it would have been nice to just build it and go sit in the car maybe for 2 hours and do some work, like bring my laptop, I don't know. And then lastly, I will say, I almost want to get a trail cam. I think that's a tip that I'm gonna do when building at a spot that I'm not really sure what it's gonna be like. So at least with that trail cam and with that footage, I can see what happens and have a better understanding of whether or not it was an isolated situation or whether or not the whole area is messed up. So some people have mentioned that before in previous DIY skate spot builds, when people have destroyed the spot, is like getting a trail cam. So maybe I can get a sponsor from a trail cam, or I'll just buy one and start poaching it at the different areas that I build, so I can just see what goes on and leave it there for like the first 3 days. I don't know, that could be a fun video project. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video and learn from my experience of trying to build DIY skate spots. It's not all doom and gloom. It doesn't always have to go this way. Sometimes they do stick. And I think in future builds, hopefully they will. I'm gonna be building in ditches a lot more, because I think that's the best way for spots not to get ruined, is nobody really messes with ditches except skaters, basically, maybe bikers. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like button. Sorry to be a downer. I know it's a little bit of a demotivating video, and I don't want it always to be that way. Hopefully you can learn from these things, and I love y'all. See you next time. Mash.